All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the Wrestling Laureate Podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Podcasting Network. So we recently spoke about NXT review. We had AEW preview, and we talked a little bit about Mercedes Moné. But kind of moving on, it's kind of like a little bit of a somber kind of aspect, but I was a huge Bray Wyatt fan, and this is honestly going to be kind of hard to talk about, but we'll kind of take it segment by segment. Once again, if you want to talk to me about things, hit the tips and donations link at the GSMC podcast.net. And so we can have a nice little back and forth combination conversation about this thing. So Bray Wyatt is recently gonna have a kind of like a Peacock, like a documentary about his life and kind of what made Bray Wyatt so unique out of all the WWE superstars, which he was absolutely 110%. You're never, ever, 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 ever gonna find somebody like Bray Wyatt. I'm sorry, you're never going to. Um, Last year, the WWE superstar, Wyndham Rotunda, known as Bray Wyatt, passed away at the age of 36 from a heart attack. Um, the documentary features interviews from Triple H, John Cena, Braun Strowman, and his partner JoJo, which they recently had I think, a child together like 2 years ago, which kind of just makes things a little more sad. The Undertaker, Mark Calloway he'll narrate it, and obviously you kind of have to include the Undertaker kind of in that same. Well, I know the Undertaker was there first, so I should per se say that Bray Wyatt is kind of in the same category as kind of the Undertaker is like that, like you kind of have that dark soul, that like unpredictability, that like darkness that just makes people just super happy to see. And Bray Wyatt definitely did such a good job on doing that. I wasn't a huge Bray Wyatt fan. It took until he came out to be like the Fiend that I was like, oh my god, like this guy's freaking sick. Absolutely. Um, he has been, necessarily rumored to be inducted into the 2024 Hall of Fame class because his father, grandfather, and uncle and his younger brother, the whole family was just, they were just wrestlers. They were just wrestlers. You had Mike Wyndham and Barry Windham both being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And why not induct, Bray? Like, why don't you just, I don't know. I think he deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame because whenever Bray Wyatt came onto the screen, that you had to pay attention because something big was going to happen, and that Bray Wyatt was he was such a storyteller. He had storylines that just kind of just like propelled off him. That you can basically pair him up with any superstar, and it wouldn't be weird. You know how sometimes you kind of see WWE feuds, people going at each other, and you're like, man, that seems kind of different. That seems kind of weird. That seems like it doesn't really work. But Bray Wyatt worked with everything. He worked with everybody. He was one of the best WWE, personalities in industry history. Um, so I read in an article that Wyatt's character was based on Martin Scorsese's film Cape Fear. You kind of had this the hat, and you had the Hawaiian shirt. And Jake the Snake Roberts said that it was very, very, very Charles Manson like. I don't know if anybody knows Charles Manson from the later generations, but I know obviously I know who Charles Manson is. Um, and Manson needs a family. That's how he did all he did. If you don't know, then Google it. Um, and it was so manipulative. It was just so like entertaining. It was just so weird and evil at the same time, but it just kept you hooked. It kept you hooked as the audience. It kept you hooked as a fellow WWE superstar. It just Bray Wyatt had a way with the fans. he had a way with WWE storylines. He had a way of telling his own story. And what Triple H said in an interview, that he had a way to tell stories. And no matter how far-fetched and how crazy it seemed, he just you just couldn't help but to listen. It was like one of those, it was like a really good teacher in college, or it was, one of your mentors, where whenever they spoke, it doesn't matter what you think of them. It doesn't matter what they did the night before. It doesn't matter how they treated everybody else. The only thing that matters was you just sat there all googly eyed. You listened. And that's the reason why Bray Wyatt is so prominent in the wrestling world, and he will be devastatingly missed. Um, like I said, I was a huge The Fiend fan. The moment The Fiend came out, I thought it was so interesting and weird. I remember my wife told me, she was like, "Why do you like that? It's so weird." I remember sometimes my kids would be watching behind my shoulder some of these Firefly Funhouse, like, everybody. And my wife was like, "What? Turn that. The kids are here." But it was just that uniqueness that just drew me in. And I was like, why should I turn? Like, this is art. This is an art form right here. This is exactly what he wants from the audience to do, and he perpetuated that in his promos, and we bought into it. I bought into it. I loved it, and I loved Bray Wyatt. I loved his Cape Fear. I loved the Sister Abigail. I loved his last Uncle Duty, or Uncle whatever. But most importantly, I love the Fiend. Like, if you look in I kind of have like a nice little like man cave kind of, in my backyard, and you just see I have the Fiend figurines. I have the posters. I don't know why, but I would, the moment Bray Wyatt turned into the Fiend, I was just absolutely and incredibly like hooked. I was fixated on that, and I don't know. That's something that Bray Wyatt, did really well. Um, his personality, creepy but awesome. The Fiend, he was also the Universal Champion, and although they didn't really do the character quite well, obviously they have him losing to like Goldberg and stuff like that. But all in all, I'm gonna miss Bray Wyatt. Absolutely, 110% miss Bray Wyatt. And God, rest his soul. My thoughts and prayers are with his family, or with JoJo, his kids, and he's gonna be missed. There's not gonna be anybody like, you know, he was a son, he was a husband, he was a brother, he was a father, and that's just something that we're all gonna miss with Bray Wyatt. Um, in that, all right. Well, thank you for tuning into the Wrestling Laureate Podcast, presented to you by the GSFC Podcast Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to Superman Punch that like and subscribe to the show. Also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more content and updates. And yeah, thank you once again, and have an absolutely phenomenal day.